So I have here with me Mackenzie, and I just want to begin by thanking you, Mackenzie, for having the courage and audacity to come on here live and share your experience in divine union. So thank you.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind just introducing yourself to give our viewers a reference of who you are and a little bit about you.
All right. My name is Mackenzie Dahl, and I am just turned 28 years old, just on the cusp of 28. And I was introduced to Divine Union directly from Reem. And yeah, I made it here to to really see where I could move in my life. I had already been exploring spirituality and tons of deprogramming for a few years. So this felt aligned with my previous choices and my integrity.
And Mackenzie, just tell us a little bit about what you do and how life goes for you.
Okay. So my life is kind of a little bit all over the place with what I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. But what I'm mostly doing right now is making these orgonite pyramids. And so these protect against EMF particles and from like the Wi-Fi routers and the computers and the all the cellular devices that are constantly surrounding us. They're also tools of consciousness and this word ascendance, and that it's really fun right now. And then also on the side, I'm also taking clients one-on-one for consciousness growth.
Amazing. So, reflecting back what you said, you're really into consciousness. Can you tell us, are you currently in a relationship? Are you single? Where are you in the spectrum?
Yeah, so I'm in a relationship and we're coming up on our 7 years, which is a very auspicious number for a relationship and those 7 year cycles. And it's always been a pretty solid relationship and like it's just been easy. And that it got to a point where we both recognized the ease in it and realized we needed to push each other a little bit more and kind of shake things up. So this if you don't mind me saying, this divine union was a catalyst for my relationship and I'm happy to talk about that.
Yes, I would love for you to share more about that. So, before Divine Union, what were you like in terms of your relationship or how you approached men and women and dating?
I feel like how I was like I felt like a queen, like using that word. I felt like in every relationship, I usually do long term relationships. So I felt like I was always the one on top. And like I was always the one that was playing chess, like three steps ahead of the other person. And really looking through that lens was really not helpful because I was putting myself up on a pedestal compared to my partner. And um, I don't think I was playing fairly. I was kind of always looking to have the upper hand and be in control of the relationship and the next step and where we were moving.
So, then during Divine Union, did things change for you personally or in your relationship? And what was kind of happening
Yeah.
during the process?
Yeah. For me, in the beginning, I don't think I was as aware of what was going on. But what transpired for me was the content that I learned gave me this like permission slip to act on all of those things that I knew I needed to change in my relationship, and that energy I was bringing forward with like in a way like me being the dominant and me being like the smarter one or whatever it was. um Divine union really gave me the tools to like have the language to communicate with my partner, like, hey, I've been wrong. I've been carrying like a lot of masculine energy in this relationship, and I think that was the biggest part. I was actually acting as the masculine role in almost every single one of my relationships, and I never saw that until divine union. And right when divine union began, I realized how much I was like up my partner's butt all the time. Like I just was always in his business instead of being in my own and like figuring out where I can soften and where I can bring in more femininity, and actually through that giving him the space to step more into his masculine role, which was what naturally transpired.
Such like interesting revelations that you've had.
Hmm.
Um, so what would you say was the biggest motivator to taking divine union?
Well, like I said, like I had a great relationship, so it wasn't really like, oh, fix my relationship. And um so I don't really know what it was. There was that first call we had, and just hearing the language and the way that you spoke and the message that you were bringing was so different and unique from any other teacher I had found at that point that was talking about these kinds of things. And I always felt like there was something wrong with like leading with like, what do I want? What do I want? Like, yes, that's important to think about, but like also thinking about the other partner's wants and needs and considering them and being sacrificial in that way. And I'd never liked being sacrificial. I felt like that wasn't me. I didn't deserve to be oh man, just hearing myself say that. I didn't deserve to be sacrificial. Like I was better than that. So for me, the selling point was really you, and the mind that you had and the relationship that I had seen. And yeah, it was, my selling point was you as a person.
I'm like incredibly humbled by your words, and also want to reiterate that it's not me. It's just, this all came unveiled to me, and as I was going through the process, I was like, why don't women know this stuff?
Yeah.
That was kind of the recurring thing in my mind. Is like, why didn't I know this already? And yeah, just feeling really called to share that message with everyone. So thank you. What were your apprehensions, or did you have any concerns or doubts about joining Divine Union? All honesty, welcome here.
Yes, because I think in this world of workshops and webinars and self growth, there gets to be a point where it's like, do I need this? Like, do I actually need this? And especially having a relationship where it was like, no complaints. But also having that underlying, like, we both acknowledge, like, this could be so much better than what it is. So my apprehension would have been like my own ego and my own pride of, like my relationship's fine as is, and I have a degree in psychology and I've already like learned all this stuff. And so like feeling like I already had the tools to make my relationship better, and or just like also the internal aspect of the masculine and feminine union, feeling like I already had the tools and didn't really need to pay for one more approach. That was my my one like hesitance with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what happened to that doubt or that concern?
Well, so again, that first call that you had, I was actually moving across country. And so I was only able to listen in on parts of it because my signal kept dropping. And so I didn't even listen to the whole thing. And I don't even remember, that was so long ago. I don't even remember what was said. Um, but the way that you communicate this is heavy information, and I didn't really understand that going into it because it goes against like so many things that are ingrained into our upbringing and thus us. And so for me, the fact that the content made like this, like it made me think, and it made me slow down. And for some people I know, concepts that really make you think, it can be intimidating because people say like truth is simple, truth is easy. Well, before you can get to truth, you have to learn how to like you have to deprogram a little bit. And so much of your content is deprogramming. And even though I've had years of deprogramming, you offered it, and in an area where no one else was speaking about deprogramming in your personal life. It was all about the external world. So that was the major turning point for me.
So it brings me to ask you, what was the most triggering thing where you encountered resistance within yourself through, if there's
Hmm.
something that really sticks out?
Okay. Probably like, I don't think you directly said this, but this is how I interpreted it. The whole like rebellion phase of the young adolescent woman or the young adult woman, which I went through heavily, just thinking like, I felt like there was life was laid out for me already. And so I rebelled against that. But that rebellion that I took, which was partying and sleeping with whoever I wanted and like not really trying to be in integrity and any sort of good integrity. It was kind of just like whatever goes because I'm the boss. And that's what like women have been shunned for years. So I'm going to do this differently and be a rebel. The fact that that itself is a programming, and the fact that like what I thought my rebellion was, my own unique rebellion, was actually a part of a indoctrinated movement. That was really hard for me to sit with. Yeah.
So where are you now with this concept? How do you feel about it now? Have you unpacked anything further about this, or?
Yeah. Where I'm at with it now is I have so much compassion for women who are going through this currently. My sister's just turned 20 years old, so and I helped raise so many of her friends. So having these like young adults like looking up to me now and calling me about like relationship advice, moving advice, like what to do for a living. It's settled. The information has settled, and it's not just something that I'm having to recall on. It's now something that is like ingrained in my mind because it feels like truth for me. It resonates as truth. So the more things sink in, the more I find myself operating off of this more compassionate view of women being confused at this young age on like what's what because there's so much being thrown at them.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more on that. Because,
Hmm.
and even as I am teaching some of this stuff, I always have to remind myself, like, you're not far off from where,
Yeah.
like that's just a few months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. Like it's not that far away. And so it is the little, you know, it's like a treasure hunt, you know what I mean? You're
Mhm.
like, and you're just a few
And
steps behind.
even last night, like I just had this moment where I noticed this like pattern of poor behavior on my part towards my partner where I've been aware of it. I've been aware of it for years. And last night was this like opportunity where I thought from a different perspective and not just my own. I actually like thought for a moment, like, what would it feel like if he was treating me this way? And yeah, just so it's like having these concepts and these like underlying knowings in your mind for years and then like having it presented to you one more time and I know what to do, yet I do the bad behavior anyways, but then the reconciling that comes after, and I feel like that was the last time for me last night because I was able to shift perspectives and not just think about myself.
So refreshing to hear. So great. I celebrate you. And so tell us, how is your relationship now? Has this content influenced your relationship at all, and how?
Definitely. This content has influenced my relationship in the terms of letting my partner be the man in the relationship and letting myself take more feminine roles in our partnership. For all of our relationship, he's been the one to cook and clean, and not that that has to be that way, like the woman has to be doing that, but really like realizing the imbalance that it created with me not being the nurturing one, and allowing like him to step into that. So what's changed is as I and it's not an overnight thing, like as I take on more of that responsibility, he's got now space um to exercise his inner masculinity. And honestly, like, what has transpired is Alchemical Bandit is our business, our pyramid business. So through this whole me taking this more feminine approach, it's actually instilled in him this like lost masculinity, and the outcome of that has been like a huge increase in self-worth in him. So like the work I've done on myself has just like been this like budding blossom for him. So it's been beautiful to see that.
So Mackenzie's in a really unique situation because she and her partner work together in Alchemical Bandit making these organite pyramids. And so I also think that's exceptionally interesting because, well, me and my husband work together to formulate Vipassana Mama. So part of that divine union. And how was your sales in December? We know December is usually a pretty good sales month, but how'd you
Yeah.
get through?
Yeah, we had our highest month ever. We almost hit $8,000. So that was, and that's off of Etsy. It's crazy.
So your relationship is better, your business is better,
hmm
and communication is good.
Yeah. And I'm like, I feel like instead of just having that underlying lingering, like, I know I can change something here, I know I can do better, this needs to change. Now I feel like I have space to breathe into that and give life into it instead of just being like, yeah, one day we'll deal with that.
That's so awesome. Okay,
hmm
so let's play a little bit of a game, a little bit, okay? I want you to imagine that you guys are no longer together right now in your life. How would divine union influence you in a future relationship or your next steps?
Oh my goodness. Dating for sure would be a whole different game. I used to be the kind of, oh, this is sad to say. I used to be that kind of girl that, like, when a guy hit on me at the bar, I would chew him to bits and spit it out in his face. And so I have so much more compassion for men and like what they have to go through to get a date. And like, after talking to my partner about that, like, he was that man that was like so like apprehensive to go ask someone out on a date. And so like putting myself in the man's shoes and just being grateful to be the woman and to yeah, it's the compassion that has been brought into my heart. And so it would be different because I would be able to bring more love into dating and more respect.
Cross our fingers that never happens.
Yeah. I don't think so, but yeah.
Okay, so what advice would you have given to a younger version of Mackenzie?
Soften and be more gentle with yourself and with anyone that you bring into your heart. And the wall that you have built up to protect you. I used to tell myself I didn't want children, that I didn't want to be married, because if I allowed myself to want those things and then I didn't get them, I was trying to avoid the grief that transpired out of that. So I would definitely advise her to just allow herself to feel the way she actually feels and to admit that she wants the things she actually wants, and to not be afraid of not getting those things.
I think that last bit rings true for so many women that we are, and I was one of those
Mm-hmm.
women that suppressed like wanting to be a mom,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to be happy. And yeah, well, would you have done anything differently from then until now? Had you known this information, divine union?
I used to say that I have no regrets because, like, truly, I've reconciled things, and in that way, I have no regret. But would I do things differently? Yes. I wouldn't have felt the need to hurt others, men particularly, to make myself feel stronger, and probably would have saved some men some heartbreaks and myself, because it breaks my heart to look back and see just how guarded I was and how afraid I was of being seen.
So any last thoughts, maybe some advice for someone who's like on the edge, not sure if I should do this, if this is the program for them?
Yeah. For me, and maybe this can be the same for you, viewer, it's that inner knowing that that I really had to listen to, because do I need this? I don't know. It's the same with everything else. Like, do I need another dress? Do I need this thing? Like, you don't need anything if you don't, like, if you're putting it in those terms. But what do you have to lose? And that, I think, is a big part of why I joined, because like, why wouldn't I want to reconcile the differences within myself and to reconcile the differences within my relationship? So for me, like, what do you have to lose?
It's a tough question to leave people.
Oh, that's the realest one I can think of, because for me, that, that's what I would have said to myself. Like, if I were consulting someone who was on the fence, like, what do you have to lose?
Thank you so much, Mackenzie. I think this is invaluable, like hearing your experience, and I'm so grateful and love working with you. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, same to you as well. This has been an absolute joy. The gift that keeps on giving.
Real sisterhood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.